Something that's been studied a lot for the past 100 years.
I saw a movie, for like perhaps for others, it's named Time with Tim. In Time with Justin Timberlake.
In other languages, like vieillissement means something like aging, something like longevity.
We have some series named Zombie. Is this true? Mm-hmm. Let's go then.
All right.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Likewise.
So Nissi, I'm here. I come from France. So originally born in Africa, Algeria. Lived 10 years in France.
Mm-hmm.
So right now I'm here in San Francisco to understand better this ecosystem. And I heard about longevity, and I heard that I saw some of your works. You are a legend right now when I heard about you in this space. So it's a great honor for me to meet you here. And yeah, so we are in the 16th floor VivaCity Summit for the longevity summit. And yeah, let's talk together about longevity. What does it mean? It's more like for people who don't know it. Mm-hmm. It's like more broad people. And perhaps we can go for more deep things, but like you feel it.
Yeah, so the word longevity is used in many different ways in this field. And it gets worse in other languages, like vieillissement means something like aging, something like longevity, but for me, what I do is I oversee biomedical research that is designed to help people to stay healthy for longer than normal. So everybody gets sick when they get old. I don't like that. I'm not in favor of that. I'm trying to stop it from happening.
Great. The first step is like to get people more healthier and less sick, for them to live perhaps more longer. I came here like 1 month ago, and after I went to Algeria, where's my family there? So I was, people there are working on longevity, and they are trying to put push the limit of the human, and in a way it's a little bit controversial when you are outside of it. And in another way you said, makes sense, because when we get sick, we have trouble of it. For this side of controversial side, I faced religion, tradition, unknown. What do you think about all of that?
Yeah, so humanity has been forced to find ways to put aging out of its mind for the whole of civilization, right? Because we haven't been able to do anything about it, and we know that it's really horrible. So we don't want to spend our whole lives being preoccupied by this terrible thing that's going to happen and we can't stop it. So instead, we make up these completely idiotic reasons why aging is actually some kind of blessing in disguise. Like, it's natural. I mean, come on. Tuberculosis is natural, but it didn't stop us from wanting to fix it, and we're pretty happy that we have fixed it. How will we pay the pensions? Or where will we put all the people? Or won't dictators live forever? I mean, come on. The question is, if we had a world in which we didn't have aging, in which everybody stayed biologically 20 forever, however long they lived, right? And if there were some problems, would we fix those problems by inventing aging? I mean, no, right? Yeah. So it's a completely crazy way to think. But it's not crazy when it's psychological, when the purpose of thinking these crazy things is not to be preoccupied. So it used to be the sensible thing to do. It's only now that it's really the part of the problem, because now we are within striking distance of being able to bring aging under comprehensive medical control, and therefore the sooner we do it, the better. Less suffering, less death, all those things, right? And this kind of ambivalence about it, these kind of excuses for aging, are slowing things down and costing lives, lots and lots of lives.
Really, really interesting. And you said right now we are living in a moment where we can see this, what you work on, like this vision, we can see it right now because of the new age of AI, because of the new age of technology. But what about the cost of it? I saw a movie, you know, for like perhaps for others, it's named Time with
In
Time with Justin Timberlake, where the cost of all these rich people can live longer. What do you think about it?
Yeah, so it's complete nonsense. You know, the initial premise of that movie and the initial premise of a lot of other dystopian movies about a post-aging world is that we won't have room for all the people. And therefore we have to somehow have some way of getting rid of some of the people so that the other people can be immortal, right? And in time, it was like capitalism, you know, it was just money. In Blade Runner, it was, we just shot everybody when they got to the age of 30, things like that. But the fact is, we're not going to have a problem of having too many people. At the moment, there are 8 billion people on the planet, and it seems like that's too many. You know, we've got things like climate change happening, right? But the fact is, it's not a matter of not having enough space. Every single person on the planet could have their own acre, and they wouldn't even have to live anywhere unpleasant, right? So the problem is pollution. The problem is that we are not very good at, we can't yet extract carbon from the atmosphere. But we're getting there. We're getting there fast. Similarly, you know, plastics in the oceans or whatever. You know, we are developing bacteria that can eat those plastics.
Sure, yeah.
And so on and so forth. You know, cheap desalinated water. So it's completely idiotic to suppose that we actually have an overpopulation problem that would get worse if we fixed aging.
Okay, but I'm still in this like if we find like some way to stop aging or to push more our cells or even reverse the time of the cells, like we need to do it in a clinic, or it's like perhaps something where we can how we can do that.
Okay, so it will be just like regular medicine. I mean, under the hood, it will be very, very, very complicated. We will be giving people a lot of different things at the same time. But from the point of view of the patient, it will be just like any medicine. Right. You just go in, most of it will be injections. Maybe in the early stages of the development of this technology, some surgery will be necessary to replace certain organs, but that will be for a brief period only, if at all. So, but you're probably still thinking, well, won't this be very expensive to deliver? Mm-hmm. So then, even if we don't worry about overpopulation, then still it will only be for a small minority of people. That's completely wrong. Because at the moment, when we do not have these therapies, we are spending the most astronomical amount of money keeping sick people alive for a little bit, right? For a little while. The vast majority of the medical budget of the Western world goes on the health problems of late life. So if we can stop people from getting sick like that, then even if the treatments that are involved in stopping them getting sick are quite expensive, which they probably will be at first, then it's still going to pay for itself really fast, many, many times over. Which means, of course, from the point of view of any government, that it makes completely clear economic sense, even if we forget about the humanitarian imperative, economic sense to just give these therapies for free to anybody who is old enough to need them.
Really, really interesting. But right now, people doing some sport, they try to eat healthy, they try to do all of this to get more healthier and to, why not, live longer. If tomorrow we can like just have an injection and this kind of thing, like do we need like to do this sport or to take care of us if we have just a medicine for it?
Probably not, to be honest. I mean, some people already don't need to do any exercise. I mean, I'm one of these people, right? I don't do exercise, but I still, nothing happens. I can eat and drink what I like and I'm fine. But other people are not, most people are not like that. Mm-hmm. So yes, if we can develop ways to allow people to stay fit without without doing as much exercise as they need to do today, that's a good thing. I mean, look at Ozempic, right?
Yeah.
People think Ozempic is a good thing, right?
Ozempic.
Yeah. I mean, this drug from that is a weight loss drug that really works.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's now several other drugs now in the same family, and they are some of the biggest drugs in the world in terms of sales, and that's because people don't like being fat.
I saw one documentary about some area in the world where the average age is more than other places.
So, right. So the average age in the Western world has been around 80
Right.
for a few decades now. And if you look 30 or 40 years ago, the average age of the whole world added together was maybe 60. But that's been catching up fast. It's now about 73, 74. So in other words, even the poorest countries in the world are getting higher life expectancy. Mostly that is because they are getting wealthier and more able to eliminate early deaths in infancy and so on. But still, it means that there is not a single country in the world, even in sub-Saharan Africa, in which the average lifespan is less than 50 now. And it's going up all the time. So these countries are catching up, which means, of course, that even in sub-Saharan Africa, aging is now the number one health problem, right? In fact, now there is even an organization in Africa called Afro Longevity. The two people who run it, one of them is from South Africa, the other one is from Nigeria. So I don't know whether there's any much representation from the Mediterranean African countries, but there should be, because the idea is to bring the whole continent together to participate in this crusade.
Really, really interesting. First, my last question is about fasting. What do you think about fasting? And I heard we have some cells named zombie. Is this true?
All right, so let's talk about zombie cells first.
Right.
So these happen, yes. Cells occasionally get into a broken state where they are not doing what they should be doing, and they are doing bad things. They are toxic. They are secreting chemicals that are bad for the rest of the body. Now, the body is quite good at getting rid of those cells, but it's not perfect. A bit in the same way that the body is quite good at getting rid of cells that are going to become cancerous. And that's why we don't get cancer very young. But of course, sometimes cells escape those mechanisms. Similar thing for these zombie cells. So we need to get rid of them. And now there are various ways to do that. Some of them are even in clinical trials. So we're very close now to being able to get rid of zombie cells. Now fasting, or the technical term is often used is calorie restriction.
Calorie restriction.
Right? This is something that's been studied a lot for the past 100 years by people who are interested in the biology of aging. Because it works. If you take mice and you feed them maybe 40% less than what they would like, they live about 40% longer than they normally would. And so, of course, this was very exciting when it was discovered. People have been studying it ever since. We now have drugs called calorie restriction mimetics, which are essentially able to cause the same thing. So essentially they trick the body into thinking that it's not getting as much food as it would like, even if it actually is. And of course, this is very exciting for clinical purposes because people like eating. Yeah. And so, if you could do this, that would be great. But unfortunately, this whole phenomenon of living longer when you eat less, it works much less well in long-lived species like humans than it does in short-lived species like mice. So we cannot expect more than a couple of years at the most from calorie restriction or from drugs that mimic it. Now, of course, I'm not saying that means that these drugs are useless. A couple of years is a lot better than nothing, especially because these drugs are pretty good at extending healthy lifespan. They don't just keep you alive longer when you're sick. They keep you healthy for longer. So they're useful, but they're not nearly as effective as the kinds of treatments that I'm developing.
Thank you so much. You give me so much information, and I liked the way how you explain things. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
This is really a pleasure, and yeah, thank you for being here.
Pleasure.